Hi, guys.
Hello.
This is a new episode of Across Oceans with Douglas and Szilard. And before we start with the topic for today, I'd like to ask you guys to subscribe if you like what we're doing and like us and write comments. And you
Yes.
can even suggest some topics that we should discuss. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Yes.
So the topic today is masculinity and femininity and what do these things mean,
Mm,
especially in a gay relationship, in a gay marriage.
yes.
And yeah, we could maybe start with personal experiences like what did you experience as you were a child? Like what kind of a man your family and your friends and society around you expected you to become? Like, what was this image of being a man or masculinity?
Well, I think that uh in my family, which is pretty typical of Southern Black American families, um, there was, you know, there was an expectation to be tough you know, and I am tough. I am I am tough. I've been through a lot of stuff in my life and I'm still standing, so I'm grateful. But yeah. I there was this expectation to be tough. There is this
Like mentally or physically or how?
probably both mental, physical, um, tough. Just I would say you had to be very tough and strong black man.
Okay, and what does that mean if you're a strong black man? Like what does a strong black man do?
Well, the strong black man or a strong man, anything. I want to take the race out of it because I don't think.
Well, you can, but in your case, you know, if it's your personal experience, then you can't because
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, being a strong black man, I think, is taking care of his family, taking care of business,
Okay.
um, being emotionally available, um, being present. That's important. Um, and I think,
But is that something that you want from a man, from a black man, or is that something that you were expected from you?
well, this is something that I think I expected for myself as far as now in my reality now.
Okay.
But I think growing up, there is a narrative that I think can be of, oh, you have to have everything, kind of not everything figured out, but you do need to be capable,
Okay.
capable,
Like,
tough.
does it mean like you have to provide for your family
Yeah, yeah.
financially,
That and also emotionally, yes.
emotionally as well? So
Yeah.
it was also part of the black um expectation or the in the within the black culture it was like an expectation of a man to be emotionally available. Would you say that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it would, like
Because
I
in
said,
some cultures it might not be,
yeah,
you
it might
know,
not
the
be that
emotional
way.
availability that might not belong to the
Yeah.
masculine, typical, stereotypical character.
Right. And I think, that's one thing that my mom
Mm,
always was about. We're not perfect, but my mom was always the one that was kind of like, I want you to be able to talk to me if you have anything. And my dad as well, both of them
okay.
were very, my parents are not perfect, but, I do think that there was a sense of open and honest communication. I think for me, sometimes I was the one who did not necessarily even want to receive it. Sometimes was coming up with these ideas in my mind of like, well, they want me to be perfect, you know.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but it was, yeah.
Okay. And were there expectations like what a typical strong black man would have to do? Um, like activities? Um,
Probably sports, you know, the typical
okay.
football, sports, watching football on Sunday,
Uh-huh.
uh, you know, having a grown up job, having a job, big time job, all of
What
these
what
things.
what is a grown-up big time job?
And having the 9 to 5 and climbing up the corporate ladder,
Okay.
you know. So yeah.
Um, and do you think like you can fulfill these expectations now, or do you
No,
even want to, or
no,
like?
no, 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 because well, I think that I come from a different generation. I'm a millennial, and I feel like my generation is a little bit more open, and we have had to go through so many traumas in our life with 9/11, the recession of 2008 and 9, and then we my generation, as far as millennials, we did everything. We went to college, graduated from college, went into the job market, and we're still receiving the the economy that we're living in. I would have to say from America, in America, is very different than the economy that my, your generation X had
Mm,
to live through, where that was the simple equation of, you go to school, you get a job, you provide for your family, and everything is all, it's not the same from my generation. It's not.
mm,
I think we have a lot of more hurdles we have to deal with, as far as financial expectations and all of those things. So it can
okay.
be quite difficult. And I also think that the quality of life, the life balance. Like we had this conversation today about how uh
We
we
do
w-
have conversations outside this podcast
yes
as well.
yes we do, uh yes, and I think that yes it I think that me and you both, we have full-time jobs. We you know are in school, and we have kind of checked the boxes as far as what success. I mean, we're married, we're in school, we have jobs, we live together. That's pretty much the checklist of American, not American, but just couples in general, grown couples.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that both of us are starting to realize that we want something else. We want to have a life where we're spending more of our time doing things that we enjoy doing. As far
Mm,
as our creative output, both of you're creative, you're an actor, director, I'm stylist, writer, visual, photographer, all these things.
mm,
We want to live a life where we are able to live cohesively and together and spend most of our time together while we're creating, as far as, yeah, as far as what our jobs are and the financial ability versus going into somebody else's job and helping to fulfill somebody else's dream, which I understand is necessary at a point, but that is not what we want permanently,
mm-hmm. And just to turn the question a little bit around, like, what was expected um, from a woman in this black culture you grew up in? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is the typical femininity in that culture? Like, you have a sister, for example, so
Yeah.
you saw that,
Mm-hmm.
um, saw those stereotypes, and you felt those expectations, for femininity as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that, yeah, there was if I'm being honest, there was a kind of more domestic role that was expected of the woman.
Okay.
But my mom was always very strong, independent. Still is strong, independent. She gets her money on. She does what
Mm.
she always kind of made it a point. And even my mom is in a different generation than the 40s and the 60s. It's she's not of the 21st, the 20th century and the earlier half of the 20th century. She is a modern independent woman. She has her own
Mm.
money. She does what she wants to do. Um, but I do think that there was a bit of a narrative there of, having to fulfill the household, kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Okay.
That's why I was always kind of helping her because I was like, "Oh, this is a lot." But my dad did he helped a lot as well
Mm.
with chores.
Um. Well, I'm trying to think like what were the expectations in terms of masculinity in my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and what was expected from me generally, not necessarily from my father or from my family, but generally from the society, and what I noticed as a child as a mandatory, masculine
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
role. And I feel that like what you also mentioned, the physical toughness, like you have to do sports,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be strong physically, you have to play soccer. If you're a man, you have to be interested in soccer. um, you have to be good at math and engineering and those certain things, mechanical things.
Yes.
Um, whereas if you were a woman, you had to cook, you had to provide love and care
Mm-hmm.
at home. And for example, my grandmother, I loved her and we had a really good relationship. But for example, my sister suffered a little bit because she noticed that our grandmother expected her to do chores that she was not comfortable doing. Like my grandmother was actively trying to raise her, my sister, as a typical woman, to take these typical female roles like washing, staying at the back, in the background,
Yeah.
taking care of other people. Um, and she had a problem with that. Um, and I kind of I did have like I think feminine yeah characteristics as well. Like for example, when I was a child, I often put on we talked about it a little bit
In our other videos,
in
yeah.
the other video. Like I put on curtains, I
Mm-hmm.
wrapped them around my body, and they looked like dresses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was also connected a little bit to theater, but I also had like dreams, and in those dreams, I was a woman. But in my normal life, even as a child, other than these playing sessions, I did not want to put on female clothes.
Right.
When I went to school, or I never wanted to put on female clothes, and I did not want to become a woman. Like I did not want to. I was totally fine with my gender,
Mm-hmm.
like being a man.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe at this point it would be interesting to like talk a little bit about these differences. Like there's the biological sex that we are born with, and but there's also like a gender identity, like how do we feel
Mm-hmm.
what we are. Yeah, female, male, non-binary, other, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's also like the gender expression,
Yeah.
like how we express our identity. um because I can feel totally masculine in female clothes. It could be theoretically possible, and some people do feel masculine in clothes that to me seem more female. So that's again a different category, and there's also like the sexual orientation,
Yeah.
which is again a different layer or category, and there's also like the social role
Right.
of a woman or a man or a non-binary or whatever. So, and all these layers, all these 5 layers are overlapping each other a little bit,
Yeah.
but they don't have to overlap each other completely, and I don't think that they do completely overlap by anyone, not even by heterosexual people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find that really interesting, and I also find that sometimes we just mix up those categories, and yeah, we shouldn't.
Yeah, I think I'm proud of the progress that we've made today. And by the way, this is so interesting that we're having this conversation today because it is Christopher Street Day
Mm-hmm.
in Berlin,
Yeah.
which is the Pride, and is named after. This is why I have my pins on my rainbow pins, because it's just interesting because it's they named it after a street in New York where the protest happened.
Yeah.
Downtown New York. And New York is where we met. You
Yeah.
know, in Brooklyn. Yeah. It's I think as far as the gender roles are concerned, I think I'm so happy and proud of the progress that we've been able to make because people now more than ever have the ability to choose who they want to be associated as, um whether that's male, female, non-binary. You know, we now have complete kind of autonomy over our bodies. There are still lots of issues that I think need to be addressed. You know, people are still suffering in Africa or other countries in the world, and even in America with prejudice. But I do think that we've made lots of advancements, even since my time of growing up in the early 2000s. Because I remember there was still lots of like this narrative of like you got to be tough, you know, you got to be a tough man. But I think toughness, ugh,
Yeah. What's that?
and it's interesting and it's so synchronous because we're here in the water and the water is right there. And, you know, I have my beliefs.
Okay.
And I have to go back to the Tao and how um there's this ancient, you know, philosophy about Taoism and how softness is overcomes hardness with water, and water is ultimately soft.
Mm-hmm.
But water has the ability to penetrate all. It is the softest thing, but it can penetrate through rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that we have to re reorient how we approach this narrative of toughness, because I think toughness is softness. Toughness to me being strong. What is strong is actually soft.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, another word would be like flexibility.
Yes, yielding.
Also,
Yes.
so to be strong, you also need to be able to flexible, otherwise you break,
Yeah, you do.
and then you're not tough. You're
Yeah.
not strong anymore.
And there's another great
Um,
example of that. I wanted to, and I'll have to let you finish,
Yeah,
but it just came to me. Um, there's a verse in the Tao that says, "When a man is born, it is soft.
Mm-hmm.
When he is dead, he is stiff."
Uh-huh.
Thus, whoever is stiff and unyielding is a disciple of death.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when a plant is soft,
Mm-hmm.
but
Then
when
it's strong.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Mm. It was interesting when you mentioned this expectation that men were expected to be emotionally available
mm,
in your culture, and I said that it doesn't have to be that way in other cultures. For example, in my culture, um, I experienced it in a different way as a child. Like, especially my grandparents were like farmers.
mm,
Um, and in that culture, emotional availability was not an expectation from men at all.
right,
Like they just had to be able to work hard and provide for the family, yes.
mm,
Figure out problems, solve problems, especially, mechanical problems or financial problems.
right,
But to be available emotionally for the family, that was not part of the image of masculinity. It was more like part of the femininity.
mm,
Um, so that was very interesting to me, and even today, I see it sometimes that it is expected from men to be emotionally available, but when a man shows emotions, that is not always that welcome,
mm-hmm.
even by the people who actually expect them to be
Yeah,
available emotionally. But still, if they show strong emotions,
right, right, right.
then that's not very welcome. Like,
Yeah,
for example, and it's kind of like a strange
yeah,
contradiction to me, but that's how time is just running.
yeah.
Um, that's how it is. And the other interesting aspect is the social role, like which has also, have a masculine social role and a feminine social role, and there are these traditional things like who is cooking, who is fixing the washing machine,
Right.
or the bike or whatever. Um, who's driving, and all that thing, and especially in the gay relationship, these social roles are a little bit
Thwarted.
like you know thwarted, or like who is playing these feminine roles, or
Yeah.
this feminine role in our relationship. Because yeah, I'm more like I do cooking, yeah.
Me too.
And
Sometimes I do cooking. Sometimes.
but it's not because I identify with this feminine role. It's more like I grew up in a family where men cooked as well, so I
Mm-hmm.
know how to do that. And you grew up in a different family, and in that
Well,
one.
no, I would say my dad did a lot of the cooking, and my
Mm-hmm,
sister. My dad did a lot of the cooking. My sister did a lot of the cooking. My mom and me. My mom really wasn't. I mean, on Sundays she
mm-hmm,
cooked.
mm-hmm,
You know, she had her, and then on the holidays she cooked a lot.
mm-hmm.
But she didn't do. I mean, she wasn't. Me and my mom, we were the more decorative.
Okay,
We were decorative.
okay. So in that case, in your family, it wasn't necessarily the traditional,
Yeah, no.
role
My dad did a lot of
distribution. Yeah,
cooking.
yeah.
He did a lot of grilling and cooking.
And actually, my dad did a lot of cooking too. So I learned from a lot from him, and
Mm,
also from my grandmother.
yeah,
My mother cooked, but she didn't really enjoy cooking that much.
yeah.
I have to say that. And it was my duty, even as a child, to
Mm-hmm.
do the cooking for the entire family sometimes. They just told me what to cook, they just told me what ingredients I needed, they gave me the recipe and said, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to cook. And I actually and actually enjoyed it, because I was also experimenting with different recipes and different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's just a task, and to me it's not attached to a role.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Like it's not feminine to me. It's just a task, cooking. Somebody's got to do that. Um, and like, as in terms of financials, we both work, we both make money, we both contribute. So it's not like whose job is to provide. Maybe we both provide. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So in a gay relationship, that could be a little bit. It could be a little bit different. And also, like when it comes to sexual orientation, it's also a very interesting topic. Like, um, whoever is the penetrating role, does that have to be a masculine role, or like being the receiving side, does it have to be a feminine role? Like what do you think? Like, do these things
I think that, you know, it can be if it just it's up to your relationship. Some men find that like some like gender expression, femininity, masculinity, these are all very subjective things. These are all very personal things
mm,
based off of their own kind of formative experiences.
yeah,
And I think that, some people are turned on from femininity. And there is this, I think in gay, even in gay and even in gay relationships, there is a feminine and a masculine kind of,
yeah.
to an extent. I don't want to be too
Yeah, I mean, I
to
remember
an extent.
sometimes meeting couples
Yeah.
where you can clearly
The
see
masculine and the
the
feminine.
masculine and the feminine side, and they totally identified with that role
Mm-hmm.
socially, but also you can see, or sometimes that they also take that role sexually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like there's some overlapping, which doesn't necessarily have to be in every relationship or every gay relationship,
Yeah.
but these roles could overlap each other: the social role, the sexual role,
Mm-hmm.
the gender identity and gender expression.
Yes.
But they don't necessarily have to.
No. No.
Yeah, I think, like, when we ask the question, like, what kind of man are we, I think our father, your father and my father, they are very important figures in this, because to some extent I notice, I don't know if the same is true for you, but I notice that um I am copying my father unconsciously. Like I sometimes, as I'm getting older, and I'm looking in the mirror, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I see my dad,
Me too.
because I see his gestures,
Mm-hmm.
I see his face, I see his facial expressions, and
Mm-hmm.
even as I'm moving and I'm talking, I feel like, oh, this is my dad. This is my dad's body mask. Like, that's how he's holding himself, or used to hold himself,
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago. Um, and so unconsciously, I copied a lot of these masculinity characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of um, gender expression,
Yes.
and to some extent also as a social role.
Mm-hmm.
I copied some of his example.
Right.
What is it for you?
I think so as well. I think I have as much as we may or may not want to, I think that I do have lots of my father inside of me. I do have some of his we have I mean we are nature ultimately. Like I am nature, you are nature. We are all composed of
Hmm.
our roots, and I think it's very important. And I know it's not we don't have to beat it down to the ground every day, every hour of our day, but we do have remnants of our ancestors and our
Mm,
parents and
mm,
our
mm,
relatives inside of us. And I think that if I try to, this is something that I'm making peace with. If I try to, the ultimate, I think, forgiveness for me
mm,
is forgiving of them, and then I can forgive myself first, and then I can forgive myself.
mhm,
I have to forgive them, and I think I struggled with that for a very very long time. I struggled with forgiving my parents based off of the decisions that they made because I was all wrapped up in my ego. And that's something that my friend April told me. She said, ego, all of the offense is in the ego.
mhm.
So I think a massively lifting is forgiving them,
Okay.
because I do have elements of them. I can't control it. And I can't fully love myself if I don't love them, if I don't accept them for
Okay.
what they've done or for who they are and all of their impurities and all of
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
imperfections.
Yeah, I understand and I resonate with that. But for me, the order is a little bit different. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I have to forgive myself first,
Yeah, of
and
course.
then I can forgive others. But
Mhm.
actually, both are necessary
Both.
to live peace with yourself and with your environment.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It is. I think it is, and I think open and honest communication is so important. Just having a conversation and talking is so important because you never know how. I think something that has helped me is just see the nature in everybody. Like it doesn't matter um what how many degrees you have, what you have in your closet. Um, something that you said is, we all we can do is to help people. That's what we're here for.
Hmm.
And if you can every day ask, how can I serve? I think that cuts so much of that ego out of the equation,
Mm,
because I know I've struggled with my ego for a long time because I was severely insecure, specifically within the creative industry, specifically within fashion, being in with the gays, coming from my childhood. Um, there has been a strong disconnect.
um, you in another episode mentioned that you think that you are feminine
Yeah, yeah.
because there were lots of strong women in your
Yes,
environment, in your family, and
yes. Mm-hmm.
amongst your friends who influenced you, and for this
Mm-hmm.
reason you think that you are very you're feminine, or you were feminine,
I
or
was,
you could
and
be, I don't know.
I think I still have lots of feminine traits within me. I think, but I'm also learning that I have male traits in me as well. I have lots of both.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's beauty in both. But I do think, I mean, from personal example, I did have lots of female, like my grandmother, my aunt Neva, my mom, my
Mm,
sister,
yeah.
lots of female, my teachers, lots of them, aunts, cousins. There were lots of, and then my grandmother, I was always in my grandmother's house. She had all her sorors and
Yeah.
all of her club members from when she
Mm.
was with her society clubs.
And what did your femininity do for you? Like, how can your femininity help you with you know
I don't think it
your
helps with a lot.
tasks, or to be the person that you want to be, or like how does it serve you?
I want to go back to the Dow, and I hope it's not too problematic, but I think this is the perfect thing to include because it says, know the male, yet keep to the female.
Okay.
And I think this is something that is so powerful. Um, when you think about female, you think about that female essence. It's all
Mm.
about receptivity,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that is the best part of femininity that we can all, male, female, even
Yeah.
if you're butch, even if you are the strongest bodybuilder, it's about receptivity,
Yeah.
you know? What are you receiving? Are you receiving,
Yeah.
are you allowing yourself to be to receive love
Mm.
at your job, with your husband? Are you allowing yourself to be receiving of
Mm-hmm.
good things?
Okay. And receiving could be seen as a feminine, um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so.
characteristic.
I think
Okay.
so. And I think
Yeah.
it's
Mm.
a strong characteristic, you know, because I think so much of society, American society, is all about this kind of penetrative, trying to penetrate and trying to assert yourself into other people's business and trying to engage with it. And I think being receptive.
Yeah. I think that I heard from someone saying that artists are usually have like yin yang, they have feminine and masculine sides,
Yeah.
and you cannot actually be an artist without both sides because
No.
if you write a story, there are female and male characters in that story.
Hmm.
You have to be able to sense both.
You do.
So you need to, but even if you work as a painter, um or a ceramic artist and you create a vase or whatever, like you need to be able to embrace the feminine energy as well as the masculine energy.
Hmm.
Your design has to be strong so that it survives
Hmm.
time, but it also has to be flexible and it also has to be aesthetically pleasing. So like you need to embrace all these as aspects, otherwise you can't really be embracing humanity,
Yes.
and you can't and if you can't embrace humanity, then you can't really be an artist
No, no,
because
because
you
I do think that, and I'm so happy you put that art in there because I have felt I started another vlog about art because I love art, and I
mm,
think art is so life is art, you know,
mm,
creativity, like everything is art because there is creation happening all the time, and
well,
the universe is agreeing with
it
us.
sounds like that's the end of our episode today. um it's time to end it.
Yes.
We will come back to masculinity and femininity certainly in another conversation. I think we can finish this episode that we need both,
Yes.
and we can choose in which situation, which side of us we express or live out.
Yes. Yes.
So, thanks for watching. See you next time.
Choose.